Hey everyone, Brian Freeland here with Sample Logic. Today we've got a special blog for you guys, and hopefully we have some fun and learn something as well. We started with the idea of kind of channeling scores that we really love that we've heard recently, and I came up with the idea. The first one that popped into my mind was Dune by Hans Zimmer. A lot of us are familiar with this score. Absolutely incredible. Won the Oscar for good reason. So we wanted to kind of explore that and see if it was possible to create something similar using sample libraries from Sample Logic. We chose 3 different libraries: Bohemian, Drum Fury, and World AI, and I added a little bit extra with the creative side. We'll talk about that more. First, let's check out the track with all of the tracks playing at once. There's a few different kind of secret layers that I will talk about a little bit later, but let's check out what sounds we were able to come up with. All right, so I think it definitely captures the vibe of the Dune score, though obviously that is a masterful work, and we can kind of deconstruct it and see what samples and what effects and processing and what things we can do to kind of channel something like that. What do we know about the score for Dune? It uses some amazing vocalists. It uses the human voice. This is a big part of the story of Dune, of course, the Bene Gesserit using the voice. And so there are a lot of really cool vocals and things going on with different vocalists in the Dune score. So I wanted to obviously have a lot of vocals in here. Another thing I know about Hans is how he creates kind of textures and soundscapes using organic sources and builds sort of a palette to work from. Especially in Dune, you'll notice a lot of really unique textures, some tapping, some kind of scraping, some bowing, metallic textures, all kinds of stuff. If you listen on, really high-end speakers or headphones, you'll really hear stuff like that. So using those 2 things, I wanted to kind of create something similar, or at least try to, and explore that kind of creative aspect of it. So we start off with a couple sounds here, and I have some filters applied to pretty much everything. Has, at least for the pads, it has filters. You can see here, this is just adjusting the cutoff, and then also I adjust the resonance of the filters, which plays a big part in creating those soundscapes. So we start with the filters, low pass frequency very low, so we just get a very dark, ominous vibe, and it slowly raises up. Another thing of Hans' score is very slow burn progression, slowly ramping up to a fever pitch of intensity. So again, with the filters, there is the resonance plays a huge part in that, not just the cutoff. And obviously we have vocal choices here and as far as instruments and sample sources, but it stays fairly rhythmic. If we look at the MIDI data here, it's very rhythmic there. Again, another kind of staple of Hans' scores, slow, rhythmic, steady progression. So I've got a pad from Bohemian. This is called Cathedral Hour. Now this is very resonant. Now combine that with this, which is from World AI. It's an instrument preset called Gentle Air, but I've isolated just one of those sound sources. As you know, with the World AI, we can have 4 different cores, 4 sound sources. I've isolated just one of those, and the sound source for that is an African male sustained singing O. So it has a very slow build up and slowly opens up the sound with that resonance and just builds an ominous soundscape for that. But it is still vocal based. We can hear the human voice in that, obviously. Added in another pad here and bowed cymbals. These bowed cymbals are from Drum Fury. Now, what I wanted to do with those, as you can see in the MIDI data here, the velocity is very low, and there's lots of reverb that I've applied to these. So very softly, we know bowed cymbals and cymbals in general can be very abrasive. I wanted the velocity very low, but the reverb, big sound, adds to that ambience, that ominous soundscape, and the cymbals is part of that organic texture here. What those vocals do from the World AI that I had showed on the first pass there and highlighted those along with the first pad with Bohemian pad, it gives it sort of a breathing, living vibe. It sounds like the track is breathing and kind of evolving on its own. Finally, this Bohemian atmosphere here is called Down Under Thunder. The main thing I noticed as soon as I played this was, again, the vocals. So what I like about these libraries is that they use real sound sources like the vocals here, the voices, real instruments, and it adds the processing to it to just further enhance that soundscape. But I want it to be organic in nature. It starts from something human, which in this case is the human voice. Now, another thing specifically about the opening track for the Dune score, there is something that really comes out and kind of smacks you in the face, and that is those drums. I use Drum Fury here, 2 different instances of it. I use 3, but for this intro we have 2. And the drums are going to come, and then it's going to be fairly rhythmic, but then they're going to slowly taper off and just kind of slow down, so it'll sound like this. So instead of, playing steady 8th notes or anything like that, they slowly slow down, adding to that human element. It feels like there's inertia or momentum and slowly slows down. Going along with the breathing, the vocals, it all starts to add to that ominous atmosphere, slowly pulsating and building up towards something. So if we look, let's go to the second half here. That was the intro. We have a little transition, then we've got this which says verse there. And I want to look here, which is something that establishes the rhythm and the steady tempo of the track, and it is an instrument from World AI. And I've turned off one of the sound sources there. So the 3 instruments I have playing is a mandolin playing pizzicato, a pedal steel, and a kora plucked. So this, again, organic sound sources in a rhythmic way, very low velocities, as you can see. slowly playing a pulsating rhythm, which is something else I've noticed in Hans Zimmer scores. It's like Day One from Interstellar, or even something like The Dark Knight. There are kind of steady, rhythmic, often piano, but an instrument that plays tonally and kind of keeps the rhythm. So if I isolate just that, it's just going to keep that steady rhythm like this. So that goes along in the verse, and then I've got a very low vocal going on along with the drums and the pads that I established in the first half. So we've got a long droning voice, but this one in particular is very interesting. That adds that really otherworldly kind of feeling. With Dune, we had the Sardaukar who had this kind of throat singing as the way they communicated with each other. So I really wanted to add something that kind of emulated that. So we've got everything going on there. We've added the rhythmic pluck, and we've also added an impact from Drum Fury. This one is called Impact's Deep Cinema, and it adds that really big boom, larger than life hit like this. So we've got that going into the next section, and to kind of transition it, I've got these female vocalists. This is a preset called 1,000 Voices from World AI, and this is going to give that really airy, ethereal female vocal sounds. You'll hear this again on this score, the contrast between these beautiful, airy, angelic vocals and the deep, ominous, brooding male vocals. So again, fairly straightforward there. We're building a pulsating rhythm. Again, the track feels like it's kind of progressing, slowly building up. And I added in the female vocals to add that light, airy quality. And we can kind of bring everything together there. Continuing with the drum accents that I established in the first half, but they're a little bit more rhythmic this time, not as sporadic. Now finally we do have this vocal, again with a lot of reverb, just to kind of nail that ending with a little bit more epicness. As I was making this, I wanted to add something a little bit more fun and creative. So I wanted something a little bit more organic, and I wanted to put my own touch on it, my own spin. So what I did was, if you see that guitar right there, that is a Yamaha FG330 from the 70s. It's got a beautifully rich, full-bodied tone. And I took that guitar, I tuned the low E string down to G, which is the key of this song that I wrote, and I took this and I bowed the string. Remember what I said about Dune having these kind of metallic textures? You could really hear them. You can almost feel them through your headphones. And I bowed the guitar, and I added some textures like that. And then finally, I recorded my voice using this microphone that I'm talking through right now, opened it up in Melodyne, and lowered my voice down an entire octave. So with those elements alone, they sound like this. So, Again, lots of reverb there, but combine everything and you get a sound like this. So I really wanted to add that final little texture on it, just the finishing touch, my voice and the bowed guitar, the Yamaha acoustic guitar there. One thing was missing for this song. If you notice at the opening track of Dune, again, we have these low thunderous drums, but the tempo just slowly creeps up, slowly faster and faster and faster, again building to that fever pitch. So what I did was I exported this as an audio track and I loaded it up into a new project, just the audio file, and I ramped up the end from a tempo of 120, I believe, up to 160 to give that really kind of fever pitch a heightened sense. And it sounds like this. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun doing this, got to be a little creative, think outside the box. This is a quick look how we can take our favorite composers, kind of deconstruct what they've done, and use that to learn from and create our own soundscapes with, using sample libraries and our own imagination and whatever you may have laying around. So thank you guys so much for checking this out, and I will see you next time.